The Pulse Network. It's social TV.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Hey folks, welcome to CIO Insight here on thepulsenetwork.com. I am Tyler Pyburn. I know it's been a whirlwind of hosts the last several weeks, but you know what? Hey, I'm here and we're about to have some fun. We've got a very good show lined up for you today, so I promise you aren't going to want to miss one single bit. And as always, joined by from Ziff Davis Enterprise, we've got Eric Lundquist with us. Eric, how you been?
Tyler, how are you? It's great to have you back. We're at the top of the heap on hosts right now. I can
Exactly.
Tell. This is it.
You know, it's almost
pinnacle.
It's become a carousel, and I like to say I'm the unicorn right now. I'm that mythical creature that is unattainable. But you finally caught me. You've got me. So, in addition to Eric Lundquist, we are joined by another one from Ziff Davis Enterprise. We've got Ashley Daley on the line. Ashley, my sister, how are you?
Hey, Tyler. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. How's everything going for you right now?
Very good, actually. We managed to survive the earthquake down here in North Carolina, so no complaints.
Very good to hear. Glad to know that everybody's all safe and well. Obviously, you know, the epicenter being in Virginia and, you know, people down in the Carolinas and up here in Boston. We like to kind of claim it as our own. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. What is here? It's time to do kind of the news of the week, if you will. We've basically been breaking it down for you. Every single week we go through the different news stories that is definitely important to the CIOs of the world. So we're going to go ahead and kind of jump into it. And you know what, Ashley? I'm going to turn it over to you and let you kind of run with it, my friend. So go ahead, take it over, buddy.
Sounds good. Well, so as I just mentioned, there was a 5.8 earthquake that struck central Virginia Tuesday afternoon. And as we discussed, it sent tremors along the East Coast, which prompted office buildings from Washington, D.C. to New York to be evacuated. There was 3 major airports had stopped flights from landing or taking off. The Washington Monument actually suffered cracks. And then the Washington National Cathedral said at least 3 of the 4 pinnacles on the central tower had fallen off. But so, Eric, what message should this send companies here on the East Coast when it comes to backing up your data and having action plans in place in case of a natural disaster such as earthquakes, which up until now really haven't been that big of an issue here on the East Coast?
Right. Well, you know, step one is to get those, make sure those California jokes about how wimpy we are about earthquakes stopped. You can't let those into the company anymore. You can't show those photos of like the one lawn chair that's fallen over and say, look at the quake damage. You know, if there was ever an example of you can't really predict what's going to happen in terms of, you know, problems or disasters, this is it. No one really expected this type of thing. Same time we're talking about it, there's this sort of Hurricane Irene working its way to the East Coast. It really does, you know, for CIOs, it's got to remind you that things like disaster preparedness and backup, they can't be sort of bottom of the list items. You really have to do it like a fire drill a couple times a year. Practice this, make sure everything's squared away. So if you do have to evacuate a building or leave it, that your IT infrastructure is still there and available. So yeah, Ashley, I'd say this, you know, this was a great example because it was not a disastrous example of you can't really prepare for the unexpected, but you can prepare your IT infrastructure for a disaster recovery and data backup.
Right, and I guess that's a really good point too about Irene, because I was reading an article on the Weather Channel that it has been since 1851 was the last time that the Northeast, whether it was New York City or Boston, has actually had the ring or the eye of a hurricane actually come through it. So what tips, I guess, would you give a company who maybe hasn't thought about disaster recovery or any sort of disaster preparedness before? What are 3 quick things, I guess, you would recommend that they do?
Well, if you haven't thought about it, you're going to get screwed. There's no way around it. You've got to say, look, your first objective has to be your employees. Don't try to make people come into work. 2, you've still, you know, at least with a hurricane, you can predict it. You can really do your disaster backup right now, sort of see where you are, get an idea what's going to happen, maybe move some of that data over to those backup centers that you might have had. They might be in the cloud right now. 3, just go through the plan and then be very vocal about it with your employees. Tell them how you're going to communicate. You have more ways to communicate than you ever have. Your first duties to them. Second is to look at the plan And third is just you do have some time to prepare, so go through it right now and see where you are.
All right, great advice. Well, Facebook is at it again. They recently announced new privacy settings again. They'll be rolled out tomorrow, actually, on August 25th. Now, basically, the changes will give users the option to adjust share settings for each item posted online. And when users are tagged in a posting, such as like a photograph or video, you'll actually have the option to confirm or remove your identity before it appears on your profile. Now, it's hoped that this safeguard will eliminate the problem of malicious tagging, which is often used by cyberbullies who add other people's names to unpleasant images. So what's the big shakeup? What's the big deal with all this tagging? Well, they're actually doing a tag takedown or universal tagging where users can tag anyone, not just Facebook friends. So other persons can choose not to accept the tag post on their profile. They're also starting location tagging, which is where geographic locations can be added in all versions of Facebook. We've seen this before on the mobile app, but it's now going to facebook.com. And then another setting that the changes is profile view. You will now have the option to see how others are viewing your profile, and that is going to be added above the news feed. Now, Facebook's Vice President of Product, Chris Cox, promised there would not be any unexpected changes to users' privacy settings during the changeover process. Existing users will retain their default sharing settings. But here we go again, Eric, right?
Well, this is a reaction to Google+, which has a more manageable set of privacy settings. And this for Facebook is really trying to recover some of the wide open privacy settings that they had in the company. The tagging can really, I know, actually not you, of course not. Tyler has ever had a problem with someone tagging a photo from the party you went to in New Orleans or something. But it creates a real problem. This gives you a way to approach it. I think what's interesting, for CIOs is that you really are sort of programming the application in real time. Here's Facebook, 500 million people. They're trying to restructure how the whole Facebook process works, and you get to see it. It is absolutely a reaction to Google+. And once again, you've got to remember as, on the professional side that what appears in Facebook is pretty much available one way or the other to everyone. So you really have to think of how you present yourself on these social networks, because it is the place where human resources goes in a lot of times and checks out new employees or potential employees.
Right. Well, something else that's also new on the horizon is that Microsoft is ramping up its marketing campaign for Windows 8. This is the next version of its popular operating system franchise, due to arrive reportedly sometime in 2012. Now, despite this early publicity push, we know precious little about what will surely be a host of new features. Microsoft did start trumpeting early on how Windows 8 will not only run on traditional desktops and laptops, but also on tablets. Now, we have a slideshow currently playing that is featuring what features we do know so far. But Eric, Windows 8 faces at least one substantial obstacle to widespread adoption, and that is Windows 7, which has sold hundreds of millions of copies since its October 2009 debut. Now, while it's helped Microsoft accomplish its goal of breaking the increasingly antiquated XP's lock on the PC market, it could make consumers and businesses reluctant to embrace another upgrade so soon. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the Windows' biggest competitor has always been the previous version. It's just a pain to upgrade an entire company to a new version of Windows. You have to go through all the patches, all security settings, so companies tend to be very reluctant to do it. On the other hand, Microsoft is really going to push this along. If you want to see what Windows 8 is going to look like, go take your iPad, and the way you swipe through the applications, the way you can expand, contract, but with hand gestures, the ability to pull in apps from the App Store. That's really what they're going to do. Microsoft's been caught sleeping, obviously, with the growth of the tablets. So they're going to really push this operating system. But for the IT community, it's a real pain. It's just, you got to say, okay, well, what's the advantage of us to upgrade? We've really just finally got our applications all squared away, all the security settings, and now they want us to upgrade. There's going to be some pushback on this one, Ashley.
Yeah, I'm assuming so too. Now, this was a very interesting article that's up currently on CIOinsight.com, and it's about stress levels in workers. And it says, as the summer temperatures have hit new highs this season, do your IT employees appear more frazzled than ever? A survey from CareerBuilder indicates that a large percentage of workers are reporting a high degree of stress, leading to feelings of burnout on the job. Now, this is understandable thanks to the wealth of layoffs in recent years. Workloads are heavier than ever, and this apparently won't end anytime soon as many employers feel the current push for even greater productivity, and they think that it's a sustainable one. CareerBuilder offers a caution, however, to CIOs and other bosses who pursue this path to extremes. Now, more than 2,600 hiring managers and nearly 5,300 workers took part in the research, which you are taking a look at right here. But Eric, I mean, burnout is kind of a big issue. It's not only is it an issue for productivity, but it's a morale issue, I feel like, too, in a lot of companies.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, none of us have ever felt any stress in our jobs, which are just, it's just fun all the time. We know that.
Always a smile on
always
our face,
a smile. One thing especially for the IT community, they're facing two things. One, the nature of applications running in a company. When something goes wrong, everyone knows about it. If you're in marketing or in finance, something goes wrong, well, not everyone's going to know about it. When the system goes down at the company, everyone knows about it, so all the stress comes at you. The other thing is really all these new applications and new devices coming into the company. It's the CEO walking in saying, I want my applications on this tablet. I want my applications to run on my smartphone. And IT doesn't really have a particularly good answer for that right now. They just have too much to do, too many new devices, and whenever they make a mistake, it's visible to all. So they have a little extra stress on top of everything else, Ashley.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for the news of the week this week. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the show.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. It was so good to see you, my friend.
You guys too.
Yeah,
we'll see you next Wednesday.
Stay dry and, stay in the house for the weekend.
Exactly. Make sure you're
Thanks.
safe, my friend. Excellent.
Yep.
Great stuff. Ashley Daley of Ziff Davis Enterprise. Eric Lundquist, Tyler Pyburn will be back. We've got a lot more CIO Insight coming your way. Susan Nunziata, the editor-in-chief of CIO Insight, will be joining us in just a few. You won't want to miss that. You're watching the Pulse Network. Well, what's next now?
The Pulse Network. It's social TV.